So we've got this so-called investigation into Brett Kavanaugh, and we are quickly learning that while it is extraordinarily likely that we're going to get a conclusion to this investigation and a vote on Brett Kavanaugh possibly as soon as tomorrow, Friday, we learned that the FBI was not even allowed by the White House to talk to the main players, Brett Kavanaugh himself and Dr. Christine Blasey-Ford. And you might remember, not to pat myself on the back because it was very obvious and lots of people were saying it, on Monday I came to you and I said, this so-called investigation into accused sexual assaulter Brett Kavanaugh is going to be a sham. It is a sham. The FBI was never allowed to do a full investigation. They weren't allowed to examine the claims of third accuser Julie Swetnick. They were limited in terms of who they could speak to. And Trump's defenders and Republicans and Trump himself said, no, they can do anything they want. They can talk to anybody they want to. Just make sure that they wrap it up quickly. But no one is limiting what it is that they're allowed to do. Trump even tweeted about this. I showed you this tweet on Monday's show, and I'll show it to you again, where Donald Trump said, quote, NBC News incorrectly reported, as usual, that I was limiting the FBI investigation of Judge Kavanaugh and witnesses only to certain people. Actually, I want them to interview whoever they deem appropriate at their discretion. Please correct your reporting. We were skeptical that that was actually the reality on the ground from day one, and now we really know that for a fact. With every passing day, we learn more about the absurdity of this investigation, and it's ridiculous to begin with to just have a week to do this, right? If you have the potential lifetime appointment of a man to the highest court in the land for life. I don't know how many times I should repeat that. It's a lifetime appointment. How is it justified to have a week to investigate the potential extraordinarily serious allegations against him? It's then even more preposterous to say we're going to vote immediately when the investigation is done. The day after the investigation is done, we're going to vote because senators need time to review the results. We also found out that it's not like senators are all going to get a copy of the results of the investigation. There is going to be one physical copy of the investigation, and senators, all 100 of them, if they care to see it, and maybe not all of them do, which is part of the problem, they are going to have to line up and take turns to look at this one physical copy of the investigation, according to a report from just hours ago. So the entire thing was ridiculous in terms of its timeline to begin with. But now we've learned in the last 12 or so hours that the investigation in terms of its content is ridiculously hamstrung by the White House. Two people with knowledge of the details of the investigation went to Bloomberg and revealed that the FBI hasn't been cleared by the White House to speak to Brett Kavanaugh and Dr. Ford themselves as part of this so-called investigation. The investigation is effectively over. By the time you listen to this clip, watch this on YouTube, the investigation will, in all likelihood, have concluded. They will not have spoken to Brett Kavanaugh. They will not have spoken to Dr. Christine Blasey-Ford. The White House has said that the FBI, instead of talking to them, instead of talking to Brett Kavanaugh, talking to Dr. Ford, they can simply reread the transcript of the testimony from last Thursday. How ridiculous is this? So the important question immediately becomes, what is the FBI doing about this? One would hope that when the FBI is told, okay, you've got to investigate the claims of Dr. Christine Blasey-Ford about Brett Kavanaugh, but you can't talk to Dr. Christine Blasey-Ford or Brett Kavanaugh, one would hope that the FBI would immediately say it's not going to fly. That's simply, we can't do an investigation in that way. Did they do that? Not to our knowledge. It appears as though, indeed, the investigation is going to be called complete without actually speaking to two of the primary people that are involved here. If the FBI can't speak to Kavanaugh and Ford, forget about all of the other relevant witnesses. If they can't at least talk to those two, How can anyone say that this is a credible, real investigation? And if you're asking yourself, why wouldn't the White House want Kavanaugh to speak to the FBI? The immediate answer is, well, he might incriminate himself. But there's another reason. If the White House knows, like anybody who watched Kavanaugh's testimony last week, that Kavanaugh is a huge liar, you wouldn't want Kavanaugh speaking to the FBI because you'd be worried that he could end up, like others in Trump's circle, getting in trouble for lying to the FBI. Lying to the FBI seems to be something that is afflicting many people in Donald Trump's circle, and you can be sure that lying to the FBI wouldn't be a good thing for Kavanaugh. And realistically, I've been speaking about the similarities between Brett Kavanaugh and Donald Trump. If you're Trump's lawyer and you realize that Trump lies all the time, the last thing you want is Trump sitting down with Robert Mueller's investigators. You might say, rightly, well, hold on a second, David. Kavanaugh already lied under oath to the Senate. He didn't get in trouble. He's not likely to get in trouble. That's right, but it's much more likely that you get into criminal trouble for lying directly to FBI investigators than for lying under oath to senators. Senators like to pretend that lying to them under oath is simply not tolerated, but how often do you actually see charges brought against someone for lying to the Senate? Extraordinarily rarely. Lying to the actual FBI investigators looking into this may be a bigger problem. But Republicans are going to win this in one way or the other, because from the beginning, I kind of have to hand it to Republicans. I don't know whether Jeff Flake's demand for the investigation was part of the plot all along or not, but Mitch McConnell has orchestrated this just perfectly. Initially, they say, we don't want to delay this. We don't want an investigation. We've got to get that ninth justice on the Supreme Court. Democrats want an investigation. Jeff Flake calls for an investigation. You do it and say, listen, Democrats aren't going to be happy with this investigation. Why are we even wasting our time? You then make sure that the investigation is hamstrung and totally bogus. And then when Democrats say, guys, this investigation was ridiculous, Republicans can say, we said from the beginning that Democrats weren't going to be satisfied. We've done everything we've been asked, and they're still not satisfied. So it's pathetic. It's embarrassing, it is toxic and horrible, but it is more than likely going to work to get Brett Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court, and that's an absolute atrocity that we're probably going to have to live with for the decades that Kavanaugh will be on the court. Today's program was made possible in part by Blinkist.com/Pakman. I love Blinkist. It's the really perfect app for anybody who likes politics and learning, and if you're watching or listening to the David Pakman Show, I'm sure you love politics and learning. And what Blinkist does is take the best and most popular nonfiction books, they condense them into 15-minute audiobooks that you can listen to in one sitting, and you can learn about politics, philosophy, psychology, economics. Often, we don't have the time to actually read as many books as we would like. I know that I'm at my limit for how much I can read. And this way, you can absorb the most important, valuable information from books in just 15 minutes, maybe on your way to work, maybe on your way to the gym, maybe cooking vegan recipes at home, whatever is your thing. And our audience can get a 7-day free trial by going to Blinkist.com/Pakman. If you're watching on YouTube, I've put a link in the video description. And after the free trial, if you like it, and I think you will, you can continue enjoying thousands of condensed audiobooks for just about $5 a month. You can go to blinkist.com/PAKMAN to sign up.